Alright guys, so I'm back, and with this video I want to discuss a few things, one of which is going to be the reasons why it's important to, and I may actually make another video after this as well. I want to make sure that I cover all the topics that I've wanted to cover. But with this particular one, I want to talk about the reason why it's important to take into account the third person fans and potentially some solutions as to how to achieve a kind of equilibrium within this design scope and what it really means to address the fan base so that this game can be as successful as possible. And I also want to make sure that I mention why it is also that I was looking at a video from Luke Stevens, formerly Lukey Poo, a very intelligent and articulate young man. But one of the things that escaped me was his lack of understanding as to why people would have such a problem with the exclusion of third person. So I also hope to be able to shed a little bit of light in that regard. So to get first things out of the way, I want to talk about the predicament that CD Projekt Red has put itself with a first-person only controllable scheme. And I want to talk about potentially why a lot of these issues are coming about. First and foremost, what comes to mind is not just the artistic direction. And while I like to think of myself as a family-friendly show, I'll be quite honest with you. A lot of the subject matters I do want to discuss eventually will be adult in nature, and while I'd love for people's children to be able to watch, I've got to be able to express myself in a very genuine and accurate fashion. And in this occasion, I can't think of another term better than the term bullshit for describing how CD Projekt Red has potentially disguised the motive behind excluding third person. And by bullshit, I mean a grotesque misrepresentation of the facts. I don't believe for a minute that it would have been a grotesque faltering of artistic scope to somehow find a way to include third person. All you have to do is look at the work that Naughty Dog has done in The Last of Us 2 and how they're pushing the state of the art of first person, or third person, I should say. So that is no doubt going to create technical difficulties. And that's one thing. It's one thing to say, you know what, guys, this game is so vast, so grand in scope that to include third person is just economically, it's to us it seems like an unnecessary, which obviously I would disagree with, but it would be an unnecessary expenditure and unnecessary utilization of resources. So I can understand from that perspective why you may want to say, you know what, we're so much better off just sticking with first person from the standpoint of immersion and the standpoint of technical feasibility. Would it be possible to make Cyberpunk 2077 to also play through the campaign in third person if you so choose to? Absolutely, without a doubt. The reason why these companies get notoriety, the reason why they make billions or hundreds of millions, and potentially, if you're a rock star, billions of dollars on their IPs, is because you're able to address these technical difficulties. Okay, it's your job to make the impossible happen, to create magic. That's why when you go and you look at a Marvel's movie, okay, or you look at Star Wars, or you look at anything, X-Men, anything like that, you're going to see something that, for all intents and purposes, is tantamount to magic. I forget if it was Arthur C. Clarke or who was it that said, any significant advancement in technology is indistinguishable from magic. And that's absolutely true. When I got my PlayStation 4 and Xbox One X with the 75-inch Sony 900E, trust me, it felt like it was transformative. And by that I mean, it literally made me think, holy smokes, is this what it means to play video games now? Is this what it means to watch a TV show? Is this what it means to see a movie? And it's ridiculous. For me, the improvement over what used to be, what I used to be able to get, the quality of experience, the immersion, is far and above and beyond, to the point where it kind of expands your mind a little bit. It's almost like if you're not used to dating pretty girls and you get your first one, sorry if that sounds like a complete pig. I am a man, and sometimes I can come off as a little bit of a chauvinistic pig. Hopefully not a misogynist, but at least a little bit of a chauvinist. My point being is that it's technology's companies, it's their job to expand our horizons. And I would task CD Projekt Red with doing that. Now, let's say that they're doing so much in the background, that this game is so amazing, that it's maybe technologically not entirely feasible. There are some workarounds. And there should be workarounds for not just third person, but flying cars as well. And so I know I'm kind of shuffling around the order of points that I'm going to be talking about, but I think it's important to keep this discussion organic. But if, let's say that for whatever reasons, unbeknownst to me, which obviously is unbeknownst to a lot of us because we're not in there designing the game, it's a non-starter for this go-around to have a workable third-person perspective in campaign. And let's say this extends to not just the Golden Path, but the Silver Path, which is side missions that are heavily driven by story, I should say, which CD Projekt Red is very famous for. But there are also things like emergent storylines. If you guys watching me play this right now, when I tackle the mugger, not necessarily mugger, but the burglar, or I kill the assassins, or I scare the bullies. These are small, little, short missions that don't have any narrative perspective or impact at all, but they're just there for filler. If somehow they can address a perspective or the needs of people who want a third-person perspective by including the ability to go, or the option to go in third person while you're doing free roam exploration, and for anybody telling me that getting into tight spaces is going to make that impossible, that's absolute hogwash. If you could do that, you're going to make it where people could just take a look at the outfits, appreciate it. Now, this is 900p, so there's not a lot of articulation here, but you can see how you can still zoom in and notice a lot of the detail. Now, 900p on a 75-inch screen, it's going to make it look muddy, but you can imagine if this was 3.2K or all-out 4K, then it'd be a whole different subject. So you could admire your guy, walk around, go into a store, pick up a Slurpee, or whatever it is that you may want to do in the day-to-day, because a lot of times when I'm playing The Witcher, 3/4 of the time, 75% of the time I spent in The Witcher was actually just free roaming, maybe doing some XP farming, or whatever else I may be doing in that regard. And some of that time will be just driving around. I don't want to have to be on a motorcycle the entire time I'm looking at the guy or gal with the outfit that I picked for him. Okay, so that is a much more feasible and financially equitable way of addressing the fans. And what you're saying is like, listen, we've heard you, we care about you, we want to give you the most that we can, and we appreciate the pedigree from which comes our fan base and our funds to do this dream project, so we want to do that for you. All right. That's another thing. Another thing I should say is the whole flying cars incident. Now, I've talked about the whole verticality and the technical issues involved with creating a city that's probably 4 to 5 times denser and with 2 to 3 times the verticality that Grand Theft Auto, the Los Santos city was. So obviously having aircraft could really take a hit on the frame rate. Well, and also there's the whole control scheme. If you have there's got to be a way to implement a control scheme that has a lot of autopiloting, auto-correcting things, and maybe only in certain story missions or in certain story expansions make this possible, and maybe either on 9th Gen only through expansions, worst case scenario, the PC version. But I'd be hard pressed to believe that you couldn't incorporate some kind of a scheme later on in an expansion on 9th generation hardware. To me, that just really, and if we think about it, it was 14 months, I think, after the release of Wild Hunt that we got Blood and Wine. So they've got quite a bit of time to work on things. They don't necessarily have to crank it out right there and then. We just, let us know, hey, flying cars are coming, just we're not going to be able to do it for you on the 8th gen. Which, in that case, I could see myself buying this game multiple times. Now, I really want to touch, and I may end up having to make a video, it's probably what I'm going to do, touch base on the whole perils of not addressing this. I intended to do it on this video, but I thought it was important to talk about how exactly we could ask, or we could have CD Projekt Red, or CD Projekt Red could address our needs while maintaining their artistic vision. And again, if they have, technology-wise, all their eggs in the first-person basket, and it's too late to turn that train around, which I still don't believe would be the case. But in case that is, let's just, play devil's advocate here, then definitely we can have the olive branch of free exploration in third person for just free exploration. Also, the base of operations, the apartment. Obviously, they're giving us vehicles in that regard, and also emergent missions, maybe whatever it is that we can do on the fly that arises that isn't narrative impacting as to basically interrupt the creative cycle or the creative path that they're currently on. All right, guys. Having said that, I think I'm going to conclude this video. I do apparently now have 2 more videos to make on this subject matter, but I really like being able to talk at length about the subjects and really hash out my thoughts. Hopefully you guys are enjoying, and if not enjoying completely, because I know I'm getting a lot of negativity with the thumbs downs and whatnot, but at the very least it's informative and it can spark discussion some way, somehow. Anyways, guys, you please, guys, rate, comment, and subscribe. Like always, keep it civil, and we'll be talking to you guys later. Bye-bye.